Hi Denisha, Amy here. I just went ahead and made you a video because I thought that would be the easiest way for us to get the feedback back and forth. This way I can have your summary up and point exactly to where it is in the essay that my comments are pertaining to. So first of all, I'll just comment on your formatting and your MLA stuff. This all looks really good. Great job with MLA formatting. One thing I would suggest is that you come up with a title that's different than the title of the original article, because this isn't Dawn of the Digital Natives. This isn't the article by Stephen Johnson. This is your summary of Dawn of the Digital Natives. So you could change your title just to that, or you could just title it Summary, or you could do Summary of Johnson, or something just as long as it's slightly different than the title of the original. Also, you do need to only indent your new paragraphs 1/2 inch. I don't know why it seems like you have a left margin set around 2 inches here. If you were to pull that over to your hourglass cursor, it would fix it for you. I don't know why it's like that, but you'll have to do it for every single paragraph. I think sometimes those things just like a ghost comes in and sets our formatting kind of funky. Your works cited looked good. For some reason, it's always works cited, so I'll just point that out. You do need an S after the work. Even if there's only one source, it's conventional to say works, not work, for whatever reason. Also, you do need to capitalize the first letters of every word in the title. You don't need the words online site here, but you do need the word web here and a period after the date. And you can abbreviate the month in both cases with the period afterwards. But otherwise, good job with MLA. Okay, so jumping right into your summary, I think you did a good job introducing the article with the title, author, source, and publication date right there in the first sentence. And I think this first paragraph does a really good job getting at the author's overall argument. And you are covering pretty much everything here, which is a good strategy for summary. So I was concerned, however, that at times it was a little quote heavy. I really like the way that you are picking and choosing individual words to quote. You'll see this on the rubric like you do in this sentence, but especially from like here on to here, most of this is a quote, and it just makes me feel a little bit like, wow, I hope that you really understood what he was saying, because all this really shows me is your ability to execute a quote correctly. So that said, I still think this is all really good stuff to have in there about what the main idea is of his argument. So I think that you can leave this the way it is, but I think it would be beneficial to just add something to it right here, right after you introduce the article, that would get at his argument in your own words before you jump into the counter argument of the NEA study. And I think if you have that in your own words here through paraphrase, this quote that comes later won't feel as dominant in the paragraph, because you will have already demonstrated to me your understanding by paraphrasing his central claim right up front. And what I mean by that is, I want you to just tell me what his argument is, not necessarily the argument of the NEA that he's responding to, because regardless of what the NEA says, Johnson's main argument that he wants to get across is that people shouldn't be worried about a decline in reading with the Google generation, as he calls it. In fact, people should be excited because young people today are reading more than ever. They're just doing so in an online medium. And then once you have that out of the way, you can give us the NEA study that he's responding to, just like you do here. And that will really set up some of the context for why he is presenting the argument that you just told us about, what it's responding to, and then this will kind of develop it further. And then, like I said, I don't think these quotes will feel quite as dominant in the paragraph if you have some good paraphrase right up front to take control or take authority of the summary in your own words right from the start. Okay, going on to the next paragraph. There is some awesome paraphrase in this paragraph, so that was really exciting for me to see, especially around here. This covers a lot of ground in the article, and you've done so in just about 2.5 lines, and you've done so accurately. And so that was very impressive. It's very succinct, and it's very straightforward. I think it would really make sense to someone who hadn't read the article, especially Here you're glossing over a ton of evidence, and that is what you want to see in summary. You don't want to see the evidence, but really just the ideas being represented by the evidence, like you say here. He's calling into question the figures and the scales. That's a great way of saying, you know, it took him about a page and a half in just like one line. So great job with that. There were just a couple of places that I thought it was maybe still a little too specific. Like here, it's funny that both of these are relating to places in the NEA study, and I think it's interesting that you chose to be a little more specific and direct with these, because usually when you're acknowledging a counterargument, that is one place that you would want to quote or at least paraphrase very closely. But I think because this is a summary, you can get away with saying here, for example, you know, teenagers reading rates are down from the 80s. Or here, it would be a smaller point drop than was originally indicated in the study. So you don't have to give us the specifics of percentages or number of points or even the exact year, if you can just generalize about, again, the idea that he's trying to represent. And then here at the end of the summary is another place where I felt like you could do just a little more to get at exactly what his argument is in its entirety. So this is definitely part of it, that you know, the nation doesn't need to be as afraid as the NEA study would make you think. It's questioning the reports and that there has to be proper research. But there is another half to his argument that is being left out here. And again, it's what I was talking about in the beginning up here, which is the idea that there are actually reasons to celebrate, that young people today are actually reading more than they used to, and they're very literate. It just so happens that it's in more of an online than a print medium. So I wanted to show you the place in the article where he talks about that. And it's at the end of the article, which is a good sign to know that it's important to his overall argument, because remember, you can always look at the end of a text to find out what the thesis is. And so it's not the dead last paragraph, because I do think you have most of this represented already, but it's the paragraph right before that where he says there's not only no cause for alarm, in fact, there's genuine cause for celebration. The 20-somethings in the U.S., the ones who spent their childhood years engaged with computers and not zoning out in front of the TV, are the least violent, the most politically engaged, and the most entrepreneurial since the dawn of the television era. And so what he's really saying is, no matter what the NEA says, he believes that young people today are reading, they're doing so online, they're taking that knowledge and being politically engaged, entrepreneurial, they're the least violent, you know, and so on. So I think if you can sum that up in connection to his overall thesis and his response to the study, and of course his other point, which is about the importance of good research and in not scaring the public with these kinds of accusations. But I think if you can get at that last little piece here and then also at the beginning, especially if you paraphrase in your own words, it will really take your summary to the next level. But otherwise, like I said, you do have a lot of really good paraphrase throughout, and so that was impressive to see, especially because I've seen a couple of your drafts at this point. And so it's really cool for me to see, you know, you go from one original draft and then you learn things throughout the unit, master the material, and then you get to something like this, which is a lot more successful. So that was great. Okay, well, I appreciate your hard work. Let me know if you have questions about any of this, and we can try to find a way to maybe do some back and forth, or if this all makes sense to you, I would say you can just make the changes and put it in the Dropbox. All right, well, thanks so much, and just contact me if you have any other questions. Thanks.